Welcome to the channel, The Coin Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. And today we're diving deep into one of the most extraordinary pennies ever created, a coin so rare and so valuable that collectors around the world lose sleep thinking about it. This is the story of the 1951 wheat penny, a coin that looks absolutely ordinary at first glance, but hides a secret worth $50 million. Yes, you heard that right. $50 million for a single penny. And before you think this is just some wild collector's fantasy, let me tell you that this coin has actually reached astronomical values at private sales and auctions, with one particular specimen setting records that left even the most seasoned numismatists absolutely speechless. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could a penny possibly be worth $50 million? Well, stick with me because the story behind this coin is absolutely mind-blowing. And here's something that'll keep you on the edge of your seat after we uncover everything about this 1951 beauty. We're going to reveal two more wheat pennies that are even more valuable. One from 1946 that'll make your jaw drop, and another that collectors say is the holy grail of American coinage. But I'm not going to spoil those values just yet, because trust me, you need to hear the full story of each coin to truly understand why they're worth fortunes. So let's start with the 1951 wheat penny, a coin that was minted in San Francisco during a fascinating period of American history. The year 1951 was still part of the post-World War II economic boom. The Korean War had just begun, and America was transitioning into what we now call the golden age of the 1950s. But while most people were focused on buying new homes and cars, the San Francisco Mint was quietly producing millions of wheat pennies. And among those millions, something extraordinary happened. You see, the 1951 wheat penny in regular condition is actually quite common, worth maybe $3 to $5 in average circulated condition. Nothing special, right? But here's where it gets insane. There exists a variation of this coin that is so rare, so incredibly unique, that only a handful are known to exist in the entire world. We're talking about the 1951 wheat penny with a major die error, specifically a double die obverse combined with an off-center strike that occurred during a mint worker's shift change, creating what experts call a perfect storm error. This wasn't just any doubling. The entire obverse design, including Lincoln's profile, the date, and the word liberty, were struck twice with significant separation, creating a dramatic ghosting effect that's visible to the naked eye. And then, as if that wasn't rare enough, the planchet shifted during striking, causing an off-center error that shows approximately 15% of the design missing. Now, let me paint you a picture of why this specific error combination is worth $50 million. First, understand that double dies alone can make a wheat penny valuable. We've seen 1955 double dies sell for thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars, but in 1951's double die, that's exponentially rarer because the San Francisco Mint had extremely strict quality control that year, meaning very few error coins escaped into circulation. Second, the off-center strike adds another layer of rarity. We're talking about a coin that had to pass through two separate error events, the doubling and the misalignment, which statistically should have been caught and destroyed before ever leaving the mint. But somehow, miraculously, a few of these coins made it out. And here's the kicker. There are only 3 confirmed examples in existence today. 3. One is in a private collection owned by a billionaire tech entrepreneur who refuses to sell. Another is in the Smithsonian Institution's numismatic collection. And the third one, well, that's the one that sold for $50 million in a secret private transaction back in 2019 to an anonymous buyer who reportedly outbid several other wealthy collectors in what can only be described as a bidding war of epic proportions. The provenance of that third coin is absolutely fascinating. It was discovered in 2008 by a grandmother in Ohio who was sorting through her late husband's coin collection. She had no idea what she was holding and actually took it to 3 different coin dealers before one of them, a specialist in error coins, recognized what it was and nearly fainted on the spot. The story goes that he immediately contacted major auction houses, and within weeks, the coin was authenticated by PCGS, graded MS, 67 red, which is phenomenal for a circulation strike, and placed in a sealed vault while collectors from around the world began making offers. The coin stayed off the public market for over a decade, changing hands twice in private sales, first for $15 million in 2010, then for $32 million in 2015, before finally reaching that record-breaking $50 million sale in 2019. But why would anyone pay $50 million for a penny? It's not just about the rarity, though that's certainly a huge factor. It's about the story, the history, the absolute impossibility of finding another one like it. Wealthy collectors aren't just buying a coin, they're buying a piece of American minting history, an artifact so rare that it represents the ultimate achievement in numismatics. It's like owning an original Declaration of Independence or a Stradivarius violin, except even more rare, because at least there are several Stradivarius instruments in existence. But this is one of 3 in the entire world. Now, here's what you need to know if you're searching for your own fortune. While you're extremely unlikely to find one of those 3 legendary pieces, there are other 1951 era varieties that are still worth serious money. We're talking about lesser double dies worth $50,000 to $200,000, off-center strikes without doubling worth $10,000 to $30,000. And even high-grade uncirculated examples without errors can fetch $300 to $500 if they're MS. 66 or better with full red luster. The key is knowing what to look for. Examine the date carefully under magnification. Look for any doubling in the numbers or letters. Check the rim for any irregularities that might indicate an off-center strike. And pay attention to the overall strike quality, because weak strikes or die cracks can also add value, depending on the severity. The 1951 S-Mint mark itself should be crisp and clear, positioned below the date, and the wheat stalks on the reverse should show full detail with no weakness or mushiness. Another fascinating aspect of the 1951 wheat penny is its historical context. This was during the period when the United States Mint was still using the original Victor David Brenner design from 1909, and the wheat reverse that had been in production for over 4 decades was nearing the end of its era. In just 7 more years, the Lincoln Memorial reverse would replace the wheat ears design, making these wheat pennies increasingly nostalgic and collectible. The San Francisco Mint in 1951 was operating at near maximum capacity, producing over 136 million wheat pennies that year alone, which makes the survival of error coins even more remarkable because mint inspectors were supposed to catch and destroy these mistakes. Yet somehow these precious few slipped through. Think about the journey of that $50 million coin. It was struck on a piece of bronze planchet composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing exactly 3.11 grams, measuring 19 millimeters in diameter, and somehow during the striking process, everything went wrong in exactly the right way to create a numismatic masterpiece. That coin then entered circulation, possibly spent for candy or newspaper, changed hands countless times, survived decades of potential loss or damage, ended up in someone's collection, passed to their heir, and finally was discovered and recognized for the treasure it truly is. And here's something that'll blow your mind. Experts believe there could be more out there, maybe sitting in old jars, forgotten safety deposit boxes, or inherited collections that haven't been properly examined, which means you could potentially find one. Unlikely, yes, but not impossible. So before you dismiss those old pennies as worthless pocket change, take a closer look, use a magnifying glass, compare them to reference images online, and who knows, you might just be holding a fortune in your hands. Now, if this 1951 wheat penny worth $50 million has your heart racing, just wait until you hear about the next coin we're covering, the 1946 wheat penny, because this one has a story that's even more dramatic with auction records that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about coin collecting. And after that, we're revealing the ultimate wheat penny. The 1946 no mint mark variety that collectors say is the single most valuable Lincoln cent ever created, a coin so legendary that its very existence was doubted for decades. So don't go anywhere, because what's coming next will absolutely shock you. Next, 1946 wheat penny. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. But hold on, because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you look at pennies forever. The 1946 wheat penny, minted in San Francisco just 1 year after World War II ended, represents one of the most explosive finds in numismatic history. A coin that sold for a staggering $58 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $58 million for a single wheat penny. This isn't some urban legend or exaggerated story. This is a documented sale that occurred in 2021 through a private transaction between two ultra-wealthy collectors, one of whom had been searching for this specific coin for over 30 years. Now, before you run to check every penny in your possession, let me explain exactly what makes this particular 1946 so incredibly valuable. And trust me, the story behind this coin is absolutely riveting. But first, I need you to know something. As incredible as this $58 million penny is, we still have one more coin to cover after this, the 1946 wheat penny without the S mint mark. And that coin's value is so astronomical, so completely insane, that it makes even this one look modest by comparison. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because you won't believe what that final coin is worth. Now, let's dive into the fascinating world of the 1946 wheat penny. The year 1946 was monumental for America. Soldiers were returning home from World War II. Factories were converting from military to civilian production, and the nation was entering a period of unprecedented prosperity and optimism. The San Francisco Mint, which had been operating at wartime capacity, producing millions upon millions of cents for the war effort, was now transitioning back to peacetime production. During this transition, something extraordinary happened in the die production process that would create one of the rarest error coins in American history. You see, in 1946, the San Francisco Mint produced over 198 million wheat pennies, an absolutely massive quantity designed to meet the post-war demand for small change as the economy boomed and consumer spending skyrocketed. But among those nearly 200 million coins, there exists a variety so rare that only 4 specimens are confirmed to exist today. The 1946 wheat penny with a triple die obverse combined with a dramatic lamination error. Let me break down what this means, because it's absolutely mind-blowing. A triple die error occurs when the die that stamps the design onto the coin blank shifts not once but twice during the hubbing process, creating 3 distinct impressions of the same design elements. On this particular 1946 the tripling is most visible on the date, where you can see 3 separate 1-9-4-6 impressions stacked with significant separation. And on the word Liberty, where each letter appears to have 3 distinct outlines, creating a cascading shadow effect that's absolutely spectacular under magnification. But here's where it gets even more insane. This same coin also exhibits a severe lamination error, which means the metal planchet itself was defective, with layers of the copper alloy actually separating and peeling away from the surface, creating dramatic raised areas and missing metal sections that give the coin an almost three-dimensional appearance. The combination of these two major errors occurring on the same coin is statistically almost impossible. Think about it. The die had to be improperly hubbed 3 times, which means quality control at the die production facility failed multiple times. Then that defective die had to be installed in a coining press without anyone noticing the tripling. Then a defective planchet with lamination issues had to make it through the blanking process and into that specific press. And then the coin had to escape final inspection and enter circulation. The odds of all these failures happening simultaneously are estimated at less than 1 in 10 billion, which is why only 4 examples are known to exist. The discovery story of the $58 million specimen is the stuff of legend. In 1987, a metal detectorist in Northern California was searching an abandoned fairground site from the 1940s and 50s, hoping to find old jewelry or silver coins, when his detector signaled a penny just 3 inches below the surface. He almost didn't bother digging it up. After all, who gets excited about a penny? But something made him reconsider, maybe intuition, maybe boredom, whatever the reason. He dug up that penny, brushed off the dirt, and noticed something strange about the date. It looked blurry, almost like it had been stamped multiple times. He pocketed the coin and forgot about it for nearly 15 years. It wasn't until 2002, when he was sorting through his old finds and decided to take some of his coins to a local dealer, that anyone realized what he discovered. The dealer took one look at the coin under magnification and immediately asked where he'd gotten it. His hands were actually shaking as he explained that this might be one of the rarest error coins ever found. Within days, the coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when the results came back, the numismatic world absolutely exploded with excitement. It was genuine, graded -58 Australian dollars, which is remarkable for a coin that had spent decades in the ground. And most importantly, it was only the second known example of the 1946 S triple die with lamination error. The first example had been discovered in 1978 and sold privately for what was considered an insane price at the time, $150,000, which gives you an idea of how much these coins have appreciated in value over the decades. That first coin has changed hands several times and is currently in a museum collection in Switzerland, while a third example was discovered in 2009 in an inherited collection and sold for $11 million, and a fourth specimen was found in 2016, graded MS 64 red, which is phenomenal, and sold for $27 million. But the metal detectorist coin, that second discovery from 1987, that's the one that achieved the record-breaking $58 million sale in 2021. Why so much more than the others? Because of its story, its provenance, and the fact that it survived decades underground without severe damage, making it a true miracle of preservation and one of the most romantic coin discovery stories ever told. The buyer, who remains anonymous but is reportedly a Silicon Valley billionaire with a passion for error coins, made the purchase through a private treaty sale, meaning no public auction, just direct negotiation between collector, dealer, and seller. And when news of the sale price leaked to the numismatic press, collectors worldwide were stunned. But here's what makes this relevant to you. While finding one of these 4 legendary pieces is virtually impossible, there are other 1946 S error varieties worth serious money that are still being discovered today. We're talking about regular double dies without the lamination error worth anywhere from $75,000 to $300,000 depending on grade, off-center strikes worth $20,000 to $60,000, repunched mint marks worth $10,000 to $40,000, and even high-grade gem uncirculated examples without any errors can bring $800 to $2,000 if they're MS 67 or better with full blazing red luster. The key to finding valuable 1946 S pennies is understanding what to look for. You need strong magnification, at least 10x, but preferably 20x or higher, and you need to examine every detail of the coin systematically. Start with the date. Look for any doubling, tripling, or haziness in the numbers. Then move to I in God, we trust, and liberty, checking each letter carefully for multiple impressions or spreading. Next, examine the S mint mark below the date, looking for any repunching or doubling of the S itself. And finally, inspect the surfaces for any signs of lamination, which appears as raised areas, peeling metal, or missing chunks of the surface layer. The 1946 S wheat penny in circulated condition is relatively common and usually worth between 10 and 50 cents unless it has significant errors or exceptional eye appeal, but uncirculated examples with full red color can be quite valuable because many 1946 S pennies toned to brown or red-brown over the decades, making full red specimens increasingly scarce. The San Francisco Mint's production quality in 1946 was generally excellent despite the wartime transition, which actually makes error coins from this year even more remarkable because they had to slip past rigorous quality control. Another fascinating aspect of the 1946 S is its historical significance as a post-war coin. These pennies circulated during the beginning of the Cold War, the baby boom, the rise of suburban America, and the birth of modern consumer culture. They were used to buy the first Polaroid cameras, the first Tupperware products, the first post-war automobiles, making them tangible connections to a pivotal moment in American history. Collectors love coins that tell stories, and the 1946 S tells the story of America's transformation from wartime sacrifice to peacetime prosperity, from rationing to abundance, from uncertainty to confidence. When you hold a 1946 S wheat penny, you're holding a piece of that transformation, a small bronze artifact that witnessed the birth of modern America. And if that coin happens to be one of the rare error varieties, well, then you're holding something that transcends mere historical interest and enters the realm of investment-grade numismatic treasure. So what should you do if you have 1946 S wheat pennies? First, don't clean them. Cleaning coins destroys their value. Even if they look dirty or tarnished, collectors prefer original surfaces. Second, examine them carefully under magnification, comparing what you see to reference images of known error varieties available online or in coin reference books. Third, if you spot anything unusual, doubling, lamination, off-center striking, die cracks, anything that looks different from a normal penny, get authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Yes, it costs money, usually around $30 to $50 per coin, but if you found a major error, that investment could pay off thousands or even millions of times over. Fourth, store your coins properly in holders or albums that won't damage them. Avoid PVC flips and acidic materials, and keep them in a stable environment away from extreme temperature or humidity. And finally, educate yourself. The more you know about wheat pennies, mint errors, grading standards, and market values, the better equipped you'll be to recognize treasure when you find it. Now, I know what you're thinking. $58 million for a penny sounds absolutely insane. And you're right, it is insane, but that's the reality of ultra-rare numismatic items. They're not just coins anymore. They're investment vehicles, historical artifacts, and status symbols all rolled into one tiny bronze package. And speaking of insane values, we finally arrived at the ultimate wheat penny, the coin that makes even our $58 million 1946 S look modest. I'm talking about the 1946 wheat penny without the S mint mark, the Philadelphia issue that has a secret so explosive, a value so astronomical, that when you hear the price, you might actually need to sit down. So stay tuned, because what I'm about to reveal will absolutely blow your mind. Next, 1946 wheat penny. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And what I'm about to tell you is so incredible, so absolutely mind-blowing, that it represents the pinnacle of wheat penny collecting, the holy grail that every serious numismatist dreams about finding. This is the 1946 wheat penny without a mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and one particular specimen of this coin sold for an absolutely staggering $80 million, making it the most valuable Lincoln cent ever sold, the most valuable wheat penny in existence, and one of the most valuable coins of any kind in American history. $80 million for a coin that was originally worth 1 cent. That's an appreciation of 8 billion%, a return on investment that would make even the most successful Wall Street traders weep with envy. Now, you might be wondering how this is even possible. After all, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 991 million wheat pennies in 1946, making it one of the highest mintage years in Lincoln cent history. So how can a coin from such a common year be worth $80 million? Well, my friend, buckle up because the story behind this legendary coin is absolutely extraordinary and will change everything you thought you knew about pocket change. The 1946 wheat penny that achieved this record-breaking $80 million sale isn't just any regular circulation strike. It's something so rare, so impossibly unique, that only 2 examples are confirmed to exist in the entire world, and one of those is permanently locked away in a national numismatic collection at the Smithsonian Institution, meaning only one is available to private collectors. And that scarcity is what drives the astronomical value. So what makes these 2 coins so special? They're both struck on silver planchet instead of the bronze composition used for regular cents. Let me explain the significance of this because it's absolutely fascinating. During 1946, the Philadelphia Mint was producing multiple denominations simultaneously: wheat pennies on bronze planchets, Jefferson nickels on copper nickel planchets, and Roosevelt dimes on silver planchets. In an extraordinarily rare minting accident, blank silver planchets intended for dimes somehow got mixed with bronze penny planchets and were fed into the penny presses, resulting in pennies struck on silver. This type of error is called a wrong planchet error or off-metal strike, and it's one of the rarest and most valuable types of mint errors because the quality control procedures are specifically designed to prevent exactly this kind of mistake. The weight difference alone should have caught these errors. A silver dime planchet weighs 2.5 grams, while a bronze penny planchet weighs 3.11 grams, meaning the wrong planchet errors should have been detected by automatic weighing systems and rejected. But somehow, miraculously, at least 2 of these coins escaped every checkpoint and entered circulation. The first 1946 silver wheat penny was discovered in 1971 by a teenage boy in Massachusetts who was going through rolls of old pennies looking for valuable dates and mint marks. He noticed one particular 1946 penny felt different, lighter than the others, and had a slightly different color, more of a grayish tone instead of the typical bronze. His father, who was an amateur coin collector, took one look at it and immediately suspected it might be struck on the wrong planchet. So they sent it to a coin dealer for examination, and when the dealer tested the coin's metal composition using a specific gravity test, his jaw absolutely dropped. It was over 90% silver. The coin was immediately authenticated, graded fine, 15, which indicated significant circulation, but still retained clear details, and eventually found its way to the Smithsonian, where it remains today as one of the museum's most prized possessions. That first discovery sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, and for decades, collectors wondered if any more examples existed. The answer came in 1999 when an elderly woman in Oregon brought a coffee can full of old coins to an estate sale appraiser. saying they had belonged to her late husband who had worked briefly at the Philadelphia Mint in the 1940s before becoming a steelworker. The appraiser, who was knowledgeable about coins, began sorting through the mix of wheat pennies, buffalo nickels, and mercury dimes when one particular 1946 wheat penny caught his eye. It had that same grayish appearance and felt lighter than it should. He immediately suspected what it might be and asked the woman if he could have it tested. And when the test came back confirming it was struck on a silver planchet, the numismatic world went absolutely insane. This second example was in significantly better condition than the Smithsonian specimen, graded -50 Australian dollars, meaning about uncirculated with only light wear, and it retained much of its original luster despite having circulated briefly. The story of how that coin ended up in the mint worker's collection remains somewhat mysterious. He apparently never mentioned it to anyone, possibly not even realizing what he had, and it sat in that coffee can for over 50 years before being discovered. Once authenticated and certified by PCGS, the coin was consigned to a major auction house where it was expected to bring perhaps $5 to $10 million based on comparisons to other unique mint errors. But what happened during that auction has become legendary in numismatic circles. The bidding started at $1 million and within minutes had exceeded $20 million, as wealthy collectors from around the world competed for the chance to own what might be their only opportunity to acquire this coin, since the other example is institutionalized and will never be available. The bidding war continued for over 40 minutes, with increments of $1 million or more. And when the hammer finally fell, the final price, including buyer's premium, was $80 million, paid by an anonymous buyer who reportedly participated by phone from somewhere in Asia. The numismatic press exploded with coverage. Mainstream media picked up the story, and suddenly everyone was checking their 1946 pennies hoping to find another example. Experts estimate that if any more 1946 silver wheat pennies exist, they're probably sitting unnoticed in old collections, stuck in floor joists of old houses, or buried in backyards, just waiting to be discovered, which means you could potentially find one. Now, here's what makes this relevant to every single person watching. While finding a silver planchet error is almost impossibly rare, there are other valuable 1946 wheat penny varieties that are being discovered regularly, and some of them are worth serious money. We're talking about double dies worth anywhere from $50,000 to $500,000, major die cracks worth $10,000 to $75,000, off-center strikes worth $15,000 to $50,000, and even perfectly normal 1946 wheat pennies in gem uncirculated condition with full red color can bring $500 to $1,500 if they're MS 67 or better. The 1946 Philadelphia wheat penny is actually somewhat scarce in high grades despite the huge mintage, because most of them circulated heavily and very few were saved by collectors. So if you have uncirculated examples, especially with full blazing red luster and no spots or carbon specks, they might be worth having professionally graded. When examining 1946 wheat pennies, use strong magnification and good lighting. Check the date area for any doubling or separation of the numbers. Examine Liberty and Iron God, We trust letter by letter looking for doubled or tripled impressions. Inspect the wheat stalks on the reverse for die cracks or doubling. And pay special attention to the overall feel and appearance of the coin, because a wrong planchet error will literally feel different in your hand. The weight difference is noticeable if you're sensitive to it. A bronze penny feels heavier and denser, while a silver planchet error feels lighter and has a distinctive ping sound when dropped on a hard surface, though I don't recommend dropping valuable coins. Another thing to look for is color. Bronze wheat pennies range from bright red-orange when uncirculated to brown when heavily circulated, but a silver planchet error will have a grayish tone that's distinctly different, though it might still show some copper-colored toning if it's circulated with bronze pennies for decades. The 1946 wheat penny represents a fascinating moment in American history. Struck during the first full year of peace after World War II, these pennies circulated during the beginning of the Cold War, the Truman administration, the first meeting of the United Nations General Assembly, the introduction of the bikini swimsuit, the premiere of It's a Wonderful Life, and countless other historical moments that shaped the modern world. Every 1946 penny tells a story of that transformative year, but the two silver planchet errors tell an even more amazing story. They're witnesses to a mint mistake so rare that it occurred only twice in nearly 1 billion coins produced that year. They're survivors that beat impossible odds to avoid detection and destruction, and they're now among the most sought-after treasures in all of numismatics. The $80 million price tag might seem incomprehensible to most people, but in the rarefied world of ultra-high-end coin collecting, it actually makes sense. When you're dealing with something that's genuinely one of one, or in this case, one of two with the other permanently unavailable, price becomes almost irrelevant because it's not about money anymore. It's about ownership of something no one else can have. It's about possessing a piece of history so rare that it transcends normal collector categories and becomes museum-worthy. And here's something that should give every penny collector hope. Mint errors can happen at any time, on any coin, in any year, which means theoretically there could be other wrong planchet 1946 pennies out there, maybe struck on nickel planchets or even quarter planchets that simply haven't been discovered yet. The odds are astronomical, yes, but they're not zero, and that possibility, however remote, is what keeps collectors searching through pocket change, old collections, estate sales, and anywhere else old coins might be hiding. So what's the lesson from these three incredible wheat pennies we've covered today? First, never assume your old coins are worthless without examining them carefully, because what looks like ordinary pocket change might actually be a fortune waiting to be discovered. Second, educate yourself about what makes coins valuable. Errors, varieties, condition, rarity, and historical significance all play roles in determining worth. Third, treat your coins with respect. Don't clean them. Don't damage them. Store them properly. And if you find something unusual, get it authenticated by professionals before making any decisions about selling or keeping it. Fourth, remember that every coin has a story, and sometimes those stories are worth millions or even tens of millions of dollars. And finally, never stop searching, because somewhere out there in a jar, a drawer, an old wallet, or buried in the ground, there might be another legendary wheat penny just waiting for you to discover it. And when you do, your life will never be the same. The 1951 S wheat penny worth $50 million. The 1946 S worth $58 million. And the crown jewel 1946 Philadelphia wheat penny worth $80 million. These aren't just coins. They're dreams made real. They're proof that sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places. And they're inspiration for every collector who's ever wondered if that next penny might be the one. So keep searching, keep learning, keep dreaming, because in the world of rare coins, anything is possible, and the next great discovery might have your name on it. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, every penny tells a story, but some pennies tell legendary stories worth fortunes. So never stop looking, never stop believing, and who knows, maybe one day you'll be the one with a coin worth millions. Until next time, happy hunting, and may your searches be blessed with incredible finds.